today is not about this though. Even though you see me in here with the work, putting in work. You understand? With the work, putting in work. Ironic though. Right?
Yeah. How the tables have turned. I'm recording you in a grocery store now. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, instead of me recording you.
Yeah.
But here is the cheat code. Right? Now, this is for people, but this is also for your cat and your dog. More so your dog than your cat. Cats, it's hard to get cats to do anything outside of me. You know what I'm saying? But for your dog, especially if you let your dog run around and play in the grass and all that, cheat code. Once a month, you should be mixing this in with your dog. Okay? And this is a good all year round thing for back to people to go in your smoothie. Right? This is epic for your smoothie right here. So now let's look at these right here. Can you see those? Good.
Yep.
All right. See what it say for vitamin A. Zoom in on the vitamin A. Yeah. You see that?
Yeah.
So it's not really much difference between the bargain brand. That's how we do that. And the store brand. And if you look, you got 7 servings. So it's really, if you do a whole can of this in your blender, it's 700 times with the daily, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so this is almost 1,000 mcg. So you figure just about 7,000 will go in your blender. Yeah. All right, yeah, so we're gonna grab this. All right, so let's take a look at this thing. This is 13.8 cents per ounce. And then this one is 17.2 cents. So basically about a nickel more expensive per ounce. But the difference is this one is certified to be non-GMO. Right? So overall, dollar difference, and it's non-GMO. So yeah, so in that regard, we're gonna go ahead and put this one back. But depending on budget, you might want to go ahead and grab that, because you know what? This is the inside of the pumpkin, not the outside. Okay, hold up. Now I had to make some alternative audibles on the play. So instead of going with the big fat one, right?
Caleb!
I said, you know what? We're going to go with this one. Then at the last second, I see this one is the 15 ounces, $3.29. But the Kroger one is $1.99. So I said, we're getting ready to go with these right here, the Kroger brand. Right? We're getting ready to go with these. Then at the last minute, before we pulled off, I seen this. Right in the middle, perfection. These guys right here, we getting ready to grab these. Yeah, let's get 7 of these, Chase. Let's get 7 of that. Oh, here, you can be the cameraman since you don't want to be on the camera. Let me just get all these. Yeah, right in between. Go down to this price right here. I see that price is right in the middle. Right? Right in between the $1.99 and the $3.29. This is perfect. GMO, organic.
doesn't say for the nutrition. It doesn't say what the vitamin A is. That is interesting. But we know what the vitamin A is. Through the roof. We know it's going to be that same 930, 950. Yeah, we're going to go with that. All right. Alright, so let's look at this price right here. Alright, so what I want to do is actually, you know what? Let's check something out. Alright, so now let's check this out. This is so this is like almost $2 a pound. Okay, we're not doing that. Now, all of these technically are sweet potatoes. You got these, and then you got these. You guys so good.
One for 10.
So, in the one, you could just potatoes. Yep. I don't know if these are sweet potatoes or what, but I'm good on the microwave.
I mean, it says it. I don't know what they talking about though. I might have to double bag it.
About this.
The purple ones?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Crazy.
Bro.
Ice and water. All right, so you see this is kale. Look at this now here. This is kale. Carrots. Right. Now, here's the thing. The carrots is good. The sweet potatoes is good. But the greens have the most vitamin A per weight. Per weight, they got the most. Per cup, they got the least amount because of the volume size. But by the weight, if you put it on the scale, 200 calories to 200 calories, greens is going to win out. So you're just going to have a variety of everything for the challenge. Right? That's why it's the Green Man Challenge. You know what I'm saying? Because the greens have the most reds. If that makes sense. All right, but I'm getting some olives. We're going to get some carrots. We're going to get some romaine. And usually have the dandelion up in here too. I don't know what happened to the dandelion. All
My name is Minister EnQi. I am the naturopathic doctor and the spokesman for the Melanin Verse Diabetes Ministry. Every time you go to the supermarket without the electrician grocery shopping list, it's like putting a loaded gun to your head. Stop playing Russian roulette with your life. Help us make America great again. Learn how to save time. Learn how to save money with the electrician grocery shopping list on Amazon now. Go to Amazon now. The life you save may be your own. All right, peace to the family. I see we got 2, 3, 4 people in here. We got 3 or 4 people in here, right? Let me make sure the sound is right. My mic sounds nice. Check 1. My mic sounds nice. Check 2. All right, so we're going to circle around. Right? This is where we left off yesterday. We had our major. Listen, let me say this. If you didn't share yesterday's video, you are a certified sucker, just for the record. If you haven't already shared that video to 5 or 10 people, at least you didn't understand what you watched yesterday. If you didn't share that video yet, imagine when Elijah, but you know what? I was just about to give an analogy, but I learned more from the analogy just by thinking of it before I even said it. Then it don't even make sense because, yeah. I'm thinking about what Elijah Muhammad was up against when he was trying to get people to stop eating pork. 100 years later, it's commonplace. At the time when he said it, people didn't. Right? So, one of the things we're going to talk about today, and we're going to talk about this book here. We're going to jump around as usual, right? We're going to jump around as usual, but we're going to talk about, at least we're going to start with the orthorexia book. Yeah, we're gonna start with that, right? And shout out to Hotep Jesus. Shout out to the Holistic Jedi as well, right? Shout out to the Holistic Jedi as well. But shout out to Hotep Jesus because I realize my conversations with him. Cover your ears. That might be annoying. That must be a little. Sometimes it take a second before the blue magic mixes in. But my conversation with him, we have a couple of conversations in his network right now discussing protein. And I was watching it back, right? And I realized the mind. Let me tell you, these little sayings, right? And I used to say this all the time. You know, you change the trend, you change the world. And I used to talk about how lobbyists, hopefully y'all can hear me with my back turned, but how lobbyists create like marketing terminology so that they can make certain phrases and certain concepts, like household phrases and household concepts. And the reason why I used to talk about that is because I don't think people understand how deep brainwashing can go. Like, that's literally the business of marketing. I don't know if any of y'all saw the new movie out. There's a new movie out called Fly Me to the Moon, right? And they talking about the fake moon landing and how they'd had the real moon landing with the fake moon landing and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, in the movie, the lead actress, she's hired to put together this whole fake moon landing thing because she's she started off as a con artist with her mom. And as a con artist, she learned everything she needed to be the biggest, the most effective, commercial marketer, right? So they hired her to basically con America, well, con the whole world, you know what I'm saying? And my point with that is brainwashing is not something that you can recognize when it's happening. People that are brainwashed, when they're acting from the place of being brainwashed, they believe in their mind that they're making their own decisions, and they are. What happens is brainwash takes place at the like at the mental template. The mental template. So it comes from a foundational place in your mind before you start the weighing in and going back and so the reason why I'm bringing all that up is because I realize when I'm having these conversations with Hotep Jesus, I'm like, you know what? We got to address the elephant in the room. So this is one of the things that I talk about in this book. This is one of the things that I talk about in this book. We got to discuss the elephant that's in the room, right? And the elephant that's in the room is this. This is the brainwash. This is the brainwash. That is the brainwash right there. So I realized that this is crazy. We have literally had a million conversations about protein. And when I say we, I mean we as a species, as a people, right? You've had the raw paleo meat community debating like cooked food people. You've had vegans debating, all variety of people eating meat. Pause. You had just I'm probably gonna be in so just pause, extended pause licensing for the show. Right? You've had bodybuilders, guys that they don't care about plant-based, but they're discussing, protein from powder to, like just from every angle you can have a conversation, a health conversation with protein as the subject matter, right? The conversation always has at its unspoken base this idea of complete protein. So thanks to those conversations with Hotep Jesus, I realized that I needed to take this concept down. This concept creates an idea. And so then you work from that idea outward, and you already have the wrong impression. It's like you already started with a faulty premise.
Peace to the family. This is Abdul Ali, candidate for U.S. House District 12 here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Let's just be real, folks. The Democrats have destroyed our major cities. Their policies have made us less safe. They've given us less economic opportunity, and they've provided less educational opportunities for our children. And that's why I'm running for Congress, because I know what it takes to improve these issues. I've got great working relationships already in D.C. I've spent the last 10 years of my life building my political resume so that one of us, somebody who thinks like we do, could get into D.C. and make a difference. I want you to visit aliforcongress.com to find out more about my campaign. The Democrats have already done enough, and now they're putting illegal aliens in front of people like you and me, folks whose ancestors built this country and made it what it is today. So again, I'm asking you to support me in my run for U.S. House District 12 here in North Carolina. You don't have to live in North Carolina to support, because what happens in Congress affects the entire country. So again, it's Ali for...
That's the algorithm.
So I realized, like when you see the cop, the lawyer, the courtroom shows, fruit from the poisonous tree, like most of the conversations, they fruit from the poisonous tree because we start with this concept here, right? And that is a big problem. And so when we was having our conversation yesterday, if you didn't see that video yesterday, you have to go watch yesterday's video. The cellular fragility video. If you haven't seen that video, you have to go watch that video. You got to go watch that video. Because it kind of bleeds into this whole concept of, so the concept of complete protein was developed a zillion years ago, right? A zillion years ago. So it's an outdated concept. That's number one, right? Remember I told you we're dealing with a society now, and our society is largely based on guys that are dead science, dead concepts that belong to dead societies. But we're trying to run our lives today on these concepts that are decades old, a century old, sometimes, forget about it, right? And, so in the conspiracy theory universe, there's always a nefarious, but it's not always a nefarious thing. Sometimes it's just these concepts are outdated, right? And as we go on, we carry some of these things with us. And like I said, so at the time when the concept of complete protein was created, right? The only thing they were thinking about was essential versus non-essential amino acids.
right? Essential versus non-essential amino acids. Non-essential amino acids and essential amino like this whole concept right here is also outdated. This concept is outdated. Yo, I remember Dr. Africa cursed me out when we was doing the urban kryptonite. I believe we was here in Michigan at Wayne State, because I was telling people back then, and this is easy 15 years ago, something to that effect. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 12 years ago or something like that. It was a minute ago. I was telling people that there's a new class of proteins that are not essential or non-essential, but they're a necessity for the body to have, right? They're not essential. They're not non-essential. They're actually not even classified yet, right? So even Dr. Africa hadn't really heard about this at the time. He didn't know what I was talking about. He was like, you don't know what you talk about. Selenium is a mineral. You see, and then he was using that as an example why the young, see, these young folks, they still need training and blah, blah, blah. He went off on me, right? But I was trying to explain to him that the body actually makes a class of proteins called selenoproteins, right? So now that science is well established and well understood. May Dr. Africa rest in greatness with Sabi and the rest of the legends. But what? Bam! That's another point right there. Selenoproteins, right? That's a whole class of proteins that are absolutely a necessity, not for you to stay alive, but for you to thrive, right? So this concept of essential versus non-essential has to be reworked, right? Because the original concept to essential versus non-essential is that essential amino acids are the amino acids that your body cannot synthesize on its own, right? And non-essential amino acids are amino acids that your body can create on its own, right? Now, the problem with that, if you go one step further, is, right? So think like a child. A lot of times I'm forced to approach sometimes complex stuff as a child would, because my first audience to communicate this stuff to is my children, right? So if you think like a child, the next question is, if these are essential amino acids because our body can't make them, how do we get them, right? And the obvious answer is the diet, right? So the problem comes in with the assumption that you make subconsciously, right? If these are opposite types of amino acids, essential versus non-essential, if these are dietary, right, you have to get these from the diet, and then we're told what? These are the opposite. These are non-dietary. You don't have to worry about getting those from your diet because your body makes them on its own, right? So what we automatically assume is that somehow, I guess from thin air, your body has the resources to make those non-essential amino acids. And that is incorrect. That is incorrect. Yes, your body has the ability to make those amino acids from other things, but you still have to have those other things. You still have to have a lot of things that go into your body being able to produce those non-essential amino acids, whether you're talking about, coenzymes, cofactors, vitamins, you name it, minerals, whatever, right? Fatty acids, run the gambit, right? There's still dietary resources that are required for your body to be able to produce those non-essential amino acids. So the concept, has to be reworked all the way around, right? And then this idea of complete protein also has to change, right? So we did some changing of our own to set the precedent. So, when the rest of the world finally catches up, this will be yet another thing where we have already planted our flag in the soil when the world looks around and goes, oh yeah, we need to change up. Yeah, EnQi and them, they already did it. Yeah, they already did it because somebody had to realize that, at a point in time, again, as we get more data, as we get more information, you learn better, you do better. That's how science grows, how it changes, how it evolves over time, right? We get more information in. So now, even if you take away my rant on essential versus non-essential amino acids, right? You have to factor in nowadays, we have to factor in, what else do we need to factor in with these amino acids, right? We need to factor in what? The action. Right? We need to factor in the action of the amino acids. Right? What amino acids contribute to what sort of pathways and biochemical reactions in the body? Are those favorable? Right? Like, for instance, let's get us an IE going over here, right? So we get these concepts in, right? We start to get a different picture about what a complete protein source is, right? Now that we have more things to factor in, right? The more things we factor in, the more the picture will change of just what a complete protein is, right? Because if we factor in these two things, mTOR and IGF-1, right? These are the two pathways or the gateway, the igniters to two pathways, right? That lead to shortened lifespan, cancer, tumors, metabolic disease, a host of issues that we're trying to combat with medicine, surgeries, herbs, exercises, diets, etc. Right? Starts right here. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Right? And over the years, these things have been tested a zillion ways from Sunday. right? So you've heard of these things in a variety of ways that you may not have known what they were talking about. But when you hear people talking about calorie restriction, beyond the shadow of a doubt is the thing that extends life. Well, the reason why calorie restriction does that is because calorie restriction cuts these two things down. In 24 hours of fat, even fasting, in 24 hours of fasting, IGF-1 levels are almost negligible, right? Because what kickstarts them is proteins. Proteins kickstart the building process, kickstarts the building process, kickstarts the growth process. But as an adult, your growth pathways are shut down and you're in maintenance mode. Maintenance mode is the key to longevity. Growth is not the key to longevity. Growth is something that should happen from, the time you're one cell to, time you're about 25 maybe, right? Maybe 20, 25, somewhere in there. At that point, your body transitions to maintaining the systems, right? Which is limited growth. Because even within maintenance is still growth, right? Your body has to replace all of the cells. So every day there's like a 50 billion cell turnover, right? Every day. There's about 50 billion cells your body, gets rid of. Necrosis, apoptosis, autophagy. And then your body has to recycle and replace all of those cells it got rid of. And as long as ma'at is maintained, life is maintained, right? Ma'at, balance, right? You see that in the pH. The pH wants to be what? Not a 1, not a 14. 14 being the maximum alkaline, number 1 being the maximum acid, right? Your body wants to be at the 7, right? 7.365, but at the 7 nonetheless, right? Balance, with the scale slightly tipped, right? The reason why the scale has to be slightly tipped is because you need chemistry to be initiated, right? And when you have perfect balance, you have no chemistry. So perfect balance is death. The more the scale is unbalanced, the more potential you have for reactions. But the more potential you have for reactions will, change the pressure in the volume, change the speed of reactions. And if we change the speed of reactions, then we lose balance, right? So just above, with the scale just slightly tipped, allows our body to have that domino effect and cascade of all the reactions we need to have longevity without having overgrowth, right? Because overgrowth is fungal infections. Overgrowth is bacterial infections. Overgrowth is cancer cells that never die. Tumor cells that never want to die. You know what I'm saying? Like those are all in the overgrowth universe, right? So as we got more information now, we have to change this, right? We have to change the concept of what a complete protein is. And this is one of the reasons why I have to highlight this guy. And this is one of the reasons in the early days, people were saying I was crazy. Just like I used Dr. Africa, for example, a little while ago. When I introduced selenoproteins to him, he said I was crazy because selenium was a mineral. And although selenium affected eumelanin, selenium in and of itself was not a class of proteins. I need to go back and do more research. Here we go, X amount of years later, and now, people are like, oh yeah, that's a thing. that's a thing, right? There's a whole class of these proteins, and they still not totally classified as essential or non-essential, even though they are essential, because the selenoproteins and or selenoenzymes are crucial to your body's immune response. So that's what I mean by they might not be essential for your survival, but for you to thrive, survive and thrive is different, right? You'll be alive till you get an infection, then you up out of here. Or unless you're going to need some synthetic form of something to, help you beat whatever the infection is. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, your NRF2 system is the alarm system. A part of ringing that alarm is your body being able to assemble selenoenzymes and proteins to help facilitate whatever, whatever the drama, whatever the bad guy got to get, pop off on the ops. You know what I'm saying? Like, so pulses, right? And I prefer the term pulse, right? I know people use the term beans, lentils, peas, right? And then, people that kind of in the health space, they use the term legume. I prefer the term pulse, right? I prefer pulse because pulse not only is the more scientifically proper, the more proper term for legumes, man's running around here with the UK slang. yo, man's running around here with the UK slang. I got to give, now check this out. Hold up, sidebar. Obviously, we done seen Supercell, right? Now, Supercell is not, for a lot of people that's just getting hip to Rap Man and the whole UK, the whole UK energy, right? They're just figuring out, it's black folks across the water. They dealing with certain things we dealing with. We've been kind of hip to the UK thing for a minute, but not because of, everybody that watch me know I'm a Drake. I'm rolling with Drake. I don't care who Drake is beefing with, right? We with Drake, right? So obviously we was on Top Boy and all that kind of stuff. But way before any of that, we was on the UK thing because, if you know my story, I had to fight in court for years, the better part of a decade to get custody of my children and all that. And a part of that fight was I had to prove that my youngest twins was like intelligent, you know what I'm saying? So, because their mom was, I don't want to go into what she was into, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, I had to bring them to court, you know what I'm saying? I had like a month to prove, a month and a half, maybe like 5 or 6 weeks to prove that, they was as 2-year-olds, that they was able to speak and, up to speed with, 2-year-olds, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, I'm gonna do y'all one better. When I come back to court, I'm gonna have them counting, reading, writing, like they watch me. Anyway, my cheat code, I did it too. You know what I'm saying? I had, I forgot what reading system I used. Children Could Read or something like that. I forgot the name of the system I used. I used it for a lot of them. I swear by it. It comes with the books and the videos and the whole little program. But my cheat code, right? My cheat code with the children, I learned with my oldest. Shout out to Alexis, wherever she's somewhere raising hell at, right? find whatever new thing that they into and just work through that. So if it's Barney, it's Barney. Don't fight Barney. Roll with Barney. If it's Blue's Clues, don't fight Blue's Clues. Just roll with it. Because, we get conscious. We in the conscious space. And we're looking for all the subliminal messages they could be sending the kids. And we're looking for all the things that could be wrong with the program. So I had to constantly, bring it down, find the program, and just, I think that the programs, regardless to what kind of other stuff that they could be running with these children's programs, they're only really detrimental to children because parents have a tendency to just stick their children in front of the TV or in front of a video or movie and then go about their business. I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I don't do that. My children don't even know what it is. Like they don't have an idea of what it is to go to a daycare or a babysitter. You know what I'm saying? Because it's me 24/7. Like they don't even know what that is like. So my strategy, like I was saying, was to get back to this UK drip, right? Is always to find what the children is into or whatever. And when I got the little twins, they was on this Peppa Pig wave, right? That was a whole long ass story to get back to this Peppa Pig wave, right? Yo, I be having sidebars within the sidebars within the segues. So, but Kylie, they twins. Kylie likes whatever Aubrey likes. Aubrey's like the taste, the choice, she selects things and then that's what they rolling with. You know what I'm saying? Aubrey was into this Peppa Pig thing. And Peppa Pig, I don't know if it's on purpose. I don't know if it's a UK cartoon or whatever it is, but Peppa Pig got like a UK England kind of accent, So people used to ask us when we was out and about if we was from overseas because Aubrey had this, you know what I'm saying? So that's where our UK slang in the house started from. You know what I'm saying? So that whole long story, I don't know, that was probably like 12 minutes of a long story just to say our UK, our UK, being on the UK wave started with Peppa Pig because we was having this little debate, a lightweight little debate in the house of who came with the UK drip. You know what I'm saying? If you haven't seen Supercell, then you probably don't know what I'm talking about right now. Like, what the hell is EnQi talking about? Can you get back to the protein? Relax on the protein. Go watch the first season of Supercell. I don't know what. Listen, let me tell you how I even got on Supercell. At least 1,000 people hit me up to ask me, yo, EnQi, I think these brothers done made your books into a movie, a TV show. I'm like, I don't even know who, what, like, but then when I checked it out, right, I had seen another movie because the guy that did Supercell, his name is Rap Man. He did a movie called, he did a rap musical. It's called Blue Story. There's a rap musical in the UK. He did this shit like somewhere around COVID, but during COVID, everybody was in the house just watching shows couldn't come out fast enough to entertain folks being in the house all day. You know what I'm saying? So I caught it in the early COVID days. I caught the first one. It's called Blue Stories. You know what I'm saying? But the Supercell, it started off crazy because it's like all of the black folks got superpowers and all of the white folks is trying to lock up the black folks. So it's like X-Men meets the Crips and the Bloods kind of. It's a wild thing, but it's a really good series though. It's a really good series. It's got a bunch of concepts interwoven throughout the script. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't think the brothers took anything from me. They probably never even heard of Dr. EnQi over there. But I do think it's a dope series that everybody should watch, you know what I'm saying, with their children, because you got gang stuff in there. You got, it's not really a lot of sexual, explicit, it's some, there's some vibes in there, but it ain't crazy. You got, like father and son concepts in there, rites of past, like you don't really see often father and son rites of passage in the entertainment universe. After they just tried to blackball Will after he tried to do his rites of passage thing with Jaden, So anyway, watch Supercell. It's a good series, right? Like, yo, EnQi, I'm gonna kill you. You said all that to tell us to go watch somebody else's. Yes, I did. It's a good series. You need to see it.
Oh, I know what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, good thing I have my grocery shopping list. Don't leave home without it.
Good thing I have my grocery shopping list. Don't leave home without it. All right. So I prefer the term pulse than beans, lentils, legumes, because it's the more proper. That's how we got segued and went crazy, right? But it's the more proper term, right? And encompasses the whole family, right? The whole family, the lentils, the peas, the beans, everybody's, and also obviously, a lot of what we talk about centers around the heart function, right? We are a heart first ministry, a heart first science movement, right? We don't believe that the brain is running the show. We believe that the heart is running the show and the brain is secondary.
That's the algorithm.
Yeah, see, the brain has to beat. When I told people that, they said I was crazy. I was like, no, the brain has to beat, and the brain beat is controlled by the heart. So none of the brain function can happen if the brain doesn't maintain a steady beat. He was like, no, you definitely made that up. This is the thing, when you're constantly on the cutting edge and just way ahead of the pack, people are not going to take what you say on face value, especially if you're wearing like sweatshirts and jogging suit pants, track pants and gold teeth, and they're like. But you would think that after a couple decades of constantly being correct, people would start to, you know what? That nigga with the gold teeth, I don't know how he getting the information, but he, we might want to start, So the pulse is very important for the heart and the brain health, right? Your heart has a pulse and your brain has a pulse. Literally, I'm showing you the pulse of the brain.
It ain't no fun when a rabbit got the gun, you heard?
Faith and love, love and faith, faith and love, love.
So that's why I like the term pulse. Not only does pulse include the lentils, the beans, the peas, but it also includes the heart and the brain. Which is the purpose of everything that we're doing, right? Because the heart and the brain, or lack of care of the heart and the brain, happen to be the number 1 and number 2 killers. Especially if you understand that pulmonary illness or lung issues are part of your heart health, right? Which extends to the brain. So, pulses, right? When we start to factor in all of the contemporary sciences, all of the things that we know in 2024 about a protein, we will realize that what we, in our inferior intelligence, mistakenly, in our arrogance even, right? Our arrogance, because we thought we knew better than God. This is just what it really boils down to. we thought we knew better than God. Right? We thought we knew better than God. We did. Because God gave us the plants and the, right? Thou shalt not kill. You can't. Here's the plants. Here's the fruit of the earth. Go crazy with that. You got that. Go ahead. Go crazy with that. Right? Do your thing. Right? We thought we knew better. And so we start to have these conversations, and then corporate interests solidify certain concepts in science so that science would reinforce the corporate interests, right? So when we break down the protein, right? When we break down protein, we get amino acids. As we learn more about longevity, we realize that mTOR and IGF-1 literally are the opposite for longevity. Even, let me tell you something. Even when we go back to those crazy ancient stories, you know, I'm always pulling up something from the ancestors, right? Even when we go back to these ancient stories about, less banging, please. Thank you. Even when we go back to these ancient stories, right, about little people living a long time, right? Well, that was myth, fairy tale, you know, children's stories, right up until they find out that there are literally people that are born with defective IGF-1 genes, right? And these defects have a wide range, right? So, you know, you have dwarfism, you know, but then you have people that don't have growth issues per se, but they don't get to be really big people. You know what I'm saying? They like Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart size. You know, shorter people, right? They have lower rates and incidences of cancer up into the extreme side where they never have those things. So potentially, you know, if they can handle some other variables and issues and problems, they have the potential to have a much longer lifespan, right? When we look within species, it's always the smaller animals within a species that lives the longest, right? Because of the amount of IGF-1 and what IGF-1 and mTOR do in your body, right? So now, how does that relate to this idea of complete proteins and the conversation that we're having or initially set out on? Well, as they did further studies, we got more data. We find out that it's not all of the amino acids that contribute to these guys, right? So initially, they have no idea about this. Remember, all these things have dates of discovery, right? So initially, they have no idea about this. They just know they're essential and non-essential amino acids. They don't know nothing about this. Longevity, or less, these things are relatively new we're learning about. Then they find out that these things exist, right? They find out about these things. Now, when they find out about these things, some of the old stuff that we knew, but we didn't have contemporary science to verify, so it got thrown in the, the pseudo or mythological bin, right? Like the results of fasting, being able to stop this or heal that, and blah, 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 blah. Well, after we learn about these things and we go, oh, wow, we got to dust those off out of the bin because those things are all wise, right, and exact. And now we got the science to prove it. As we get further research, more data, we find out that not all amino acids impact your pituitary and your liver in the same way, right? So now we find out that, basically the branched chain amino acids are the primary initiators of these guys. The primary initiators, right? The primary initiators. Well, if we go back to this original conversation, we're going to notice that the amino acids have, like everything in your body, right? That's why we have this. One of our core concepts that we deal with is binary coding, right? That's how your body works. Nature keeps things simple. On switches, off switches. So if within the amino acid universe, there are on switches for production, right? That means in the amino acid universe, there had to be what? Off switches, right? So you have lysine versus the BCAAs, the branched chain amino acids, right? And lysine always seems to pop up in healing conversation, right? Whenever you're talking about healing, lysine is the amino acid. And so that's another thing. As we learn more about these individual amino acids, our perspective of what this means has to change. Because when we think about healing, right? That's what we're supposed to be doing in the holistic space. We're supposed to be healing, right? Well, when we talk about bones, right, it's lysine that initiates healing in the bones. It's lysine that initiates healing in the tendons and the joints, right? It's lysine that initiates healing in the blood vessels. It's lysine that initiates healing in the collagen, in the fascia. It's lysine that initiates healing in the skin and the outer tissues, right? So anybody who's ever dealt with any kind of recurring infections, they know they're going to tell you, oh yeah, you got to lower down the amount of arginine rich foods you're eating, and you want to start to have more lysine rich foods in your diet. So lysine is even involved in allowing your body to fight off infections as well, right? So lysine seems to be so, and now here we got lysine also indirectly fighting cancers and tumors and things like that, because it's the off switch for mTOR and IGF-1 activation, right? So now when we go back to this conversation, that's the original conversation. When you look at complete proteins versus incomplete proteins, they're going to tell you that, well, like if, for instance, beans are a good source of amino acids, but they're low in branched chain amino acids, or they're low in methionine, or they're low in valine, or they're low in, and they're particularly rich in lysine, though. Overall, the pulses or the legumes are particularly rich in lysine, but they are complete, but we don't consider them as complete because they're low in some of these key amino acids that you want to have. And me, I made it a habit to listen to every word, especially when it comes to science. I'm like, you want to have every amino acid that you want to have. You want to have. How does John Q. Public know which amino acid that they want to have? See, they're being told which ones they want to have, but they don't know which ones they want to have because they don't know what amino acids do individually anyway. They don't. So they don't know which ones they want to have. And that's where our arrogance came in, because especially with, the rise in muscle importance, skeletal muscle, right? So that's another thing that has contributed to this term in an upside down fashion, right? Because your body has three types of muscle, right? You got skeletal muscle, you have smooth muscle, and you have cardiac muscle. By far, right? The most important muscle is smooth muscle. By far. It's not even close. Because your skeletal muscle and your cardiac muscle depend on the smooth muscle. But smooth muscle doesn't have much conversation. Nobody discusses smooth muscle. That's one of the reasons. That's another one of the reasons why. Because in traditional Chinese medicine, I'm not even going to say, you know what? When you think about traditional Chinese medicine, right, there's a bleed over space, right? Because they're very similar to Kemetic with their, you could really see how at some point in history, maybe that was just one culture. You know what I'm saying? So Elijah Muhammad and Farah Muhammad, they might not be far off with that concept of Asiatics, right? The ancient Asiatics, because a lot of their stuff, you know, when you go back far enough, you know, they both had hieroglyphics. Chinese folks still use hieroglyphics to this day. Their language is hieroglyphics, literally, right? The only other culture, they're the only culture in today's world that uses hieroglyphics, right? But they've been doing that since, you know, they've slowly been colonized a little bit. So they now are doing the pinyin thing, you know what I'm saying? But if you go back far enough, you see, you know, just similarities that can only come from sharing roots, right? But between martial arts or martial sciences, more correctly, and traditional Chinese medicine, there's a lot of gray, you know, bleed over area where martial arts is traditional Chinese medicine, and traditional Chinese medicine is a part of martial arts. They don't really separate, you know, nowadays with the degrading of martial arts and the rise of mixed martial arts and UFC and all this other shit, prize fighting martial arts, you know, it's devolved a lot, right? A lot of the most important things are no longer important because they don't make money, right? Being able to punch somebody and hit them with a knee in the face and elbow, you know, you can become a millionaire doing that, right? You can get nice cars, big booty girls or big breast girls, whatever you're into, elbowing in the face, right? You can get introduced to the president elbowing people in the face. If people have cancer and you can reverse their cancer, you might be on YouTube with, you know, 20 people watching your live stream. Woo, nigga, listen. If you can heal cancer, you might have 20 people in your live stream. If you can jump while elbowing somebody in the face, you might be able to sell, you know, 1 million live pay-per-view tickets. It's the world we live in, right? So, but in this space though, anyway, in the bleed between traditional Chinese medicine and the martial arts, you know, they have Nidan and Weidan, right? So that's a part of their traditional system, is to work out, to build strength in the external muscles, but it's always prioritized that is much more important to build the strength and the integrity of the internal muscles. Now, a lot of the Western culture doesn't even, you don't see none of these big, you know, again, we way ahead the learning curve. You don't see none of these big muscle guru, you know, they're not talking about this because there's no way to monetize the information. They'll talk about it when it becomes monetizable, right? But right now, what's more monetizable is coming up with ways to speak around the most important things to your health, so that way you stay sick. If you stay weak, then the people with muscles can continue to get big money from you on the internet. If you stay sick, the people that have, you know, pharmaceutical, you know, they can continue to, that's potential. The scale cannot be balanced. If the scale is balanced, then there's no more potential, right? That applies everywhere. That's the supply law of demand. It's still the same as electricity and water. Electricity and water flow based on potential. Same thing with currency, right? Currency, electricity, water, currency flows based on potential. If people are sick, you know, if the scale is tilt and everybody is sick, most of the people are sick, then, you know, you have this potential to make a lot of money and capitalize, right? If most of the people are fat, obese, out of shape, you become the unicorn by having big muscles. Now, whatever you say, you must, you clearly you must know what you're talking about because you got big muscles, right? And that's not really the case because we don't see people with big muscles exhibiting longevity, right? We haven't seen any bodybuilders, and Dr. Sebi died early. Dr. Sebi still has some more time. We know there's still mystery surrounding his death, but we know for a fact if he didn't go to jail, he would have still got another 5 years, maybe a decade, maybe 2 decades. He had some more time to run up the clock, right? Sebi still has some more time on the clock. Dr. Africa hid whatever was going on with him. I believe it was cancer. He hid the cancer, because I guess they felt like if people found out he was sick, everybody was going to say, well, clearly his information is no good. So it would have hurt his legacy and whatever. So they kept that secret. I disagree, but I do understand that philosophy. Sebi, on the other hand, he died in prison, right? He died in prison because he was also hiding some shit that was wrong with him, right? But he was able to take care of it, my opinion, if he was out and had access to everything he needed, right? Being an elderly, sick man put in prison, how it don't matter what you know. You got limited resources to effectuate what it is that and a lot of it is environment. He understood that implicitly. Environment. I need to be in this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I need that UVB. I need this super high quality water and stop right there. Everything else is optional, right? And you saw that because when he went to jail, he still had everything else. He had his family bringing him the food off the list and the herbs, right? Because the herbs in the food didn't work. We lost him. So that environment wound up being more important, that light and that water, right? And just the love, we forget love is a nutrient, you know what I'm saying? That's a whole nother conversation though, right? But my point is, even with Sebi dying early, right? We haven't seen any bodybuilders live as long as Sebi, right? And we know Sebi still had time on the clock. And he still outlived the guys with the biggest muscles. So muscle's not a longevity thing, at least not external muscles, right? And this is the reason why we have certain ritual types of exercises in our program, right? That's why y'all got to get the books. But our program is geared towards those internal muscles. Get that Wasceptor book. If you don't have the Wasceptor book, you are killing yourself. You're literally shooting yourself in the head. Like, you have to have the Wasceptor book. That's like the super key to everything. The Wasceptor is that book, because I don't care what they say about Kemet. They was light years ahead when it came to some of this. But the problem is, the kingdoms, the dynasties were fractioned, and within the community you had secret schools, and the priesthood was only allowed to learn certain things, and certain watered down material was presented to the commoners or the masses. And so what was preserved for posterity is still fractions. It's still fraction because you have people arguing, and y'all see me out there going, to try to put the pieces back together again. But the aorta is the key to longevity, right? The aorta is the key to longevity in every way you can imagine. Everything. The aorta facilitates everything. You got to get that book, the Wasceptor book. It's super detailed with the aorta and how the aorta works and how the aorta works with the spine and the brain and the heart and, you know, everywhere else in the body. Like everything in your body. That's the one thing in your body that everything else is dependent on, right? And you would think to say, well, you just said the heart. The aorta is the arm of the heart. The heart can't do any of its work without the aorta. It literally works through the aorta. The aorta is like the single parent that does all the work and doesn't get any of the credit. The heart, you know, the heart is that deadbeat parent that just pop up on holidays with a bag, like with a video game. Yeah, you busting your ass raising them kids all year long by yourself, and here this, you know, here this MFer come through with a bag of, you know, one toy. Oh my God, it's amazing. You're the best because I was waiting for this toy. What? You like, I'm getting ready to kick somebody's ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the aorta. The heart gets all of the props, but the aorta is really doing, you know, 90% of the work. Anyway, pulse, 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 pulse. Right? So in divine wisdom, the pulse family is already, like, the amino acids are already there in proportion to what you need. They're already there in proportion to what you need. So when you start learning all of this stuff and blah, 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 and you start getting deeper into the information and all that, and you figure out, okay, so unless I'm an athlete, right? Unless I'm an athlete or a bodybuilder, my longevity is tied to cutting back on branched chain amino acids. I don't need branched chain amino acids. Right? Not only do I not need branched chain amino acids, but in my food, like, I don't need to get protein shakes with loaded up with branched chain amino acids. Like, I don't need that. Right? I don't need leucine. You know, I don't need that. Right? Now, if you understand these things, you can use them therapeutically. Right? You can use leucine. You can use the mTOR, IGF-1. You can use these things therapeutically to your advantage when you need. You know, a lot of people get fat. You know, I'm one of them. You know, I take care of everybody else before myself. And then you get to these moods where you're like, okay, well, I got to get back in shape. Okay, well, in that process, right, you might need you a couple of weeks, right? You might need you a couple of weeks where you know, not the first or the second week, but maybe that third week extended, you know, for a few weeks, maybe even a few months. Who knows how you're looking? You might need a little bit more branch chain, you know, you might need a little more leucine. But you're going to need complementary. So you're always going to need high amounts of lysine. That never changes. That never changes, right? You always need high amounts of lysine. Always. That never changes. No matter what stage of development, what you're trying to do with your body, you always need a lot of lysine, right? Because building tissues is going to start here. So even if you go through a phase where you want to build up some excess, you know, you want to jumpstart some muscle and some other things. Well, once you set them off, that your body just going to start looking for this. And without this, is going to be incomplete, right? So all that said to say, right, for these reasons and more, when you get the book and read the book, our concept of what a complete protein is has to change, right? Because there are a lot more things to consider now than just essential versus non-essential, right? If we're talking about animal protein versus plant protein, we have to factor in, right, heme iron, because now we know that heme iron in and of itself is a risk factor for different types of cancer, especially prostate cancer, right? So where you at with that, right? And you have to assume for safety, ladies, anything that could increase a man's risk for prostate cancer may or may not affect your womb or uterus. Same thing for you fellas. Anything that may or may not detrimentally impact a woman's uterus may or may not affect your prostate. Right? Do not let your dog. Okay, good job. I walk my dog in the street. I walk my dog in the street for a reason. I'm one of those people that'll run out the front, like I don't agree with letting your dog pee and shit on my property. Because first of all, whether you use the pooper scooper or you use the little plastic bags, you can't get all of the shit off the floor. It's like you still left a little bit there. And I got kids, we like to go outside with our shoes off. We don't want to step in poop residue. You know what I'm saying? That's number one. Number two, I think it's nasty. So since I was a little kid, my father trained me to walk in the street. Walk in the street with your dog. Right? And this is in the city. You know what I'm saying? Period. He was just on some nasty, but where people own the sidewalk, nah, bro, you need to walk your dog in the street. So I can get a little Karen-ish. hey, no, not right there, not right there. You take, yeah, not right there. No, not right there. Hey, you ain't paying my taxes for me, shit. Yeah, don't let your dog do that right there. Don't let your dog pee on my tree, and don't let your dog poop in my grass. I don't let my dog pee on my trees or poop in my grass. So how you gonna come from down the block somewhere and right? No, that's not what we're doing. Right? But we have to, as a part of the melanin versus diabetes movement, I need y'all to begin to start showing people what healing looks like. We have to teach the world. We at another level. You got to start, I still need the Cash Apps. I still need the Patreon support and all of those things. But you got to start gifting your people. Instead of giving them gift cards to go out, get them a book. Instead of buying a kid a video game, get them instead of taking your, somebody gifts, birthdays, holidays, start giving people books. We got to show people what healing looks like. Think about this. If you ask about all these complete quote unquote protein sources and all that, right? Where else outside of the pulse kingdom can you find the variety of amino acids while being a zero cholesterol food. Not low cholesterol. Zero. Zero cholesterol. What else can you eat? What else can you eat that's going to give you all your amino acids, high in pigments, right? High in pigments, you know, vitamins, all kinds of, you know, fiber, forget about it. Pigment, check. Fiber, check. Amino acids, check. With zero cholesterol. So again, if we add in cholesterol to the protein conversation, right? If we add cholesterol in to this complete, non-complete, because when we think complete, in our mind, we hear perfect. Like this is the best protein right here. Yeah, because it's complete. It has everything you need. I'm not fully, I don't know. I don't know about that. What time of the year is it? Where do I live at on the planet? What time of the year is it? Right? Is it summertime? Is it wintertime? Right? Where do I live at? Do I live in Mexico, Texas, Florida, or do I live in Detroit? Do I live in New York or Philly? Because if it's wintertime and I live in Seattle, I live in Chicago, shit, what if I live in Toronto? You know how much black folks live in Canada? If it's the winter time and I live in Canada, oh, I got the, no, I got to, yeah, I can't. I'm good on the cholesterol. This is the time of the year that your conversion rate for cholesterol into testosterone, for cholesterol into progesterone and vitamin D and all those things is at its lowest. It's at its lowest. So that's the last thing you need is anything attached to cholesterol in the diet. You don't need dietary cholesterol at all during the wintertime. At all. At all. Zero dietary cholesterol should be your goal if you live outside of UVB. What are you doing? Your liver is going to produce all the cholesterol you need. You're good. You don't need to add in. You're doubling up. See, it's not a thing you need from the dietary. You know, your liver can make it. You're good. Right? Your liver's going to make it. So you don't need, and you're going to have trouble converting what your liver is making, let alone add more to it. So once we factor in cholesterol into the complete protein equation, you hopefully y'all see what hopefully y'all will catch. Hopefully this is sinking in. Yeah, hopefully this is sinking in. Let me see what the chat talking about. Cash App is done in the UK. No, you all you got to do is hit the Osborne don't even be in the lives. But buy some extra books, right? Buy some extra books. You know what I'm saying? If you're in a country and you can't send a Cash App, go to Amazon and buy extra copies of Melanin vs. Diabetes Book 1. Right? It's inexpensive and it's a great way to spread the information to some people you know. Right? But yes, there's multiple new books. There's multiple new books. There's 2 new books, technically. Right? There's the new book, This is the new book, right? Not even really. This is a new book still. This is a new book. The grocery shopping list is a new book. But then there's the new book on top of that, right? And then there's a new book, right? The new book, which I had the chance to include Tiffany in, and y'all will meet Tiffany at some point. I'm gonna bring her on live. But Tiffany is a nationwide trainer. She teaches dermatologists how to take care of the skin. Listen to what I'm saying to y'all. She teaches the specialist. So when you spending big bucks to go to a dermatologist at your local hospital, or you shell out the extra money to find one that your insurance don't even cover, right? You want to get the best. She's the person that's teaching them what to do, right? And she's with us. Oh, there go Osborne. He in the building. Yeah. So Osborne could put the PayPal in the chat, and then y'all can PayPal Osborne also, if PayPal works wherever y'all at, right? But I'm hoping y'all getting this concept of, incomplete, complete protein, and what we need to do in terms of understanding this whole idea of protein, right? And then you have to deal with the conversation of anti-nutrients, right? Anti-nutrients, right? Anti-nutrients, for those of you that still be asking me different questions about Ali Muhammad, anti-nutrients, in one word, like if ideologically, right, we had differences in what, we thought, manhood looked like, you know what I'm saying? But outside of that, that's personal stuff. Ideologically, philosophically, with the information, our differences would have started with that one word, anti-nutrients, right? He got with a guy, his name was George Best. And for some reason, George Best was a new guy. He didn't really know that much with the information at the time. I don't know what he's been doing the last decade or so. You know what I'm saying? But he was new. And like we see oftentimes, people get enamored with personalities and dynamics get flipped. Like when young Pharaoh came onto the scene, we thought Seti was going to take young Pharaoh under his wing and kind of, and I guess Seti got enamored with the personality and somehow he wound up under Pharaoh. Similar dynamic, right? But I guess that's the alpha thing, and personal magnetism and all that, also plays a role in any human dynamic, right? Whenever humans are sharing spaces, alphas, and betas and sigmas and all of that's a real thing, right? But he started to come with this concept that pigments were anti-nutrients because pigments, lectins and phytic acid were attached to pigments. And so pigments, lectin-rich foods, phytic acid-rich foods, all of these things were anti-nutrients, and they needed to be avoided because they supported fungus. So Then he continued to go down that rabbit hole and said that tyramine was also a fungus. And because tyramine was fermented tyrosine, that anything that was made out of tyrosine was also fungus, including melanin. I had to draw the line in the sand, full stop. Like, okay, I can't go any further. I can't go any further, right? There's a certain space where we can still teach together, even though we teach in different things. We both have the goal of uplifting the people health, and you got your science, I got mine, two different things, but our goal is the same goal. So with the same goal in mind, we can put our differences to the side and work together to reach the people, right? I never really had that much of an ego, but when it gets so crazy that your message and my message are in direct opposition, it doesn't make sense for us to share the same space and anymore, because we're not going to be able to be progressive. We're just going to be fighting against what one another is saying. You're going to listen to me, and I'm going to tell you need pigments and fiber. Then you're going to listen to him, and he's going to say, well, your body can't digest fiber, so it's a waste of time. And pigment is no good because it's an anti-nutrient with phytic acid and da-da-da-da. And so the people will be running in circles. You see what I'm saying? So it just made sense for me to go, like, I'm running a 40-day fruit fast, like literally. If you're telling people that pigment, phytic acid, and lectins are anti-nutrients, you got to go that way, because pigment, phytic acid, and lectins are most plentiful in the plant-based community. If you eat meat, if you're eating a meat and starch type of diet, then you don't really get much fiber, phytic acid, lectins, and pigment in your food, right? That's plant-based, that's vegetation. So that was the whole thing, philosophically anyway. That's what drove the wedge right there, where he had to go to the left, I had to go to the right. And none of that aged well for him. So a part of one of the reasons why people don't, they don't really like Dr. EnQi is because I will hold them to some of these things, and they would just rather just get new people in that don't remember certain things so they could pretend like, whatever. But if you come around me, I'm going to start you right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, hold up. Are you going to apologize for telling people to avoid pigment and phytic acid and blah? Like, are you going to, because your scholarship is in question until, for me, it's in question until you correct all of the crazy shit, that you told folks, right? So anyway, that's that, right? But we talk about lectins and phytic acid in the book because now we know, like, for instance, one of the reasons why, one of the benefits to having a plant-based diet, or at least a plant-dominant diet, is phytic acid, right? And heme iron is like the primary example now, because iron was the thing that was used in those debates back and forth between, plant-based versus animal, that was the main thing, outside of B12. But when it comes to phytic acid, it was, oh, well, phytic acid is stopping your body from getting, X amount of iron because blah, blah, blah. And, heme iron from the animals is way better. It's more bioavailable and blah, 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 blah. Fast forward, now that we get more data and we understand, well, your body doesn't have a way to flush out excess iron. So when your iron levels get high, your body stops absorbing iron and allows it to just go in your poop. So when you get iron from plants, the iron is presented in a transparent fashion to your body so that your body's system can decide based on how much it has already to absorb it or to allow it to be flushed out in your poop because you don't need it. When you have the heme iron, the iron is hidden from the body system. So you wind up having higher levels of iron than you're supposed to. And when you have those excessively high levels of iron, that's what actually contributes to what now they're promoting as ferroptosis, right? Because the problem in America is not that people are getting too little protein, but too much protein. Along with too much protein is really too much animal flesh consumption. So you're getting in too much heme iron. You're getting too much, right? You're getting too much. So you're having problems with iron transport. You're having problems with blood cell production, right? Which is a part of iron transport. You're having problems with transporter protein production. So now people are having high levels of iron and also being anemic at the same time because iron metabolism is a problem because the vitamin D levels are low, right? So even if you have the iron, you have to have what you need for iron metabolism in vitamin D. And then you also have to have your body building the proteins and the pigments that carry the iron so it's not getting stuck in the tissues. All those different things got to work together at the same time. If one thing is missing, the whole little system surrounding iron metabolism fall apart, right? So if you got the iron and you got the amino acids and the proteins and the pigments and all that, but you chronically deficient on vitamin D, you still don't have, the master key, to. So all of those things are important. Phytic acid is super important because also it allows your body to buffer some acids, right? Not only does it help regulate, mineral absorption, but allows your body to fight off some acids. Lectins, there's a zillion papers out there showing that lectins are anti-cancer now. And, they're trying to synthesize fake lectins in a laboratory to sell for prescription. They're so powerful at fighting cancer. Them shits went from anti-nutrients in less than 20 years to cancer fighters. And the problem is that people really don't trust God, right? And this is why I'm saying, because the fact that it's here as a natural food source for you, that's God's answer, right? Bang. Man came along and said, oh, well, that's an anti-nutrient and this and this and that. So you was faced with a fork in the road. God said, eat this. Man said, fall back off that. You say, okay, God, I'm not sure you fully, I'm going to roll with the white jackets. White jackets, I'm going to roll with the white jackets. Problem is, 20 years later, the white jackets come back and say, oh, we made a little boo-boo. The lectins actually are anti-tumor, anti-cancer, so you need these. In fact, we've got a concentrated dosage. We can prescribe you a concentrated dosage of lectin. You're like, wait a minute. I can get me a concentrated dosage for $3 right now at the supermarket. I can get me a concentrated dosage right now for $3 in the supermarket. So you got to think now, what happened to all of those people in that 20-year period that have been avoiding this whole category of plant-based food because a blind spot in science. right? Or they didn't even look at any science at all. They were just trusting personalities that, they may have liked, whether it's their doctor, their trainer, their nutritionist, their guru, online guru, offline guru, right? I'm just saying. These are all things that you can verify now. You don't have to, It's just when I was saying these things in the early 2000s and the late 90s, they were saying I was crazy because even the holistic people was like, nah, we don't know, beans is not good. Beans is not good for you. Beans make you fart. And the reason why beans make you fart is because your body doesn't digest it. Beans is mostly all fiber and anti-nutrients. That was the conversation of beans. Beans are fiber and anti-nutrients. Meanwhile, niggas was buying probiotics and prebiotics. Yeah. Right? So the one thing that every blue zone around the world have in common is beans and algae. Right? More beans than anything else. Right? Or excuse me, more pulses than anything else. You say beans, you're speaking specifically black bean, kidney bean, navy bean. When you say beans, you're not including the peas, right? And the pea family is, you're not including the lentils, and the lentil family is, is pigment heavy. The lentil family, pigment heavy, right? So we go into all of these different concepts. We go into all these different concepts. How long we been going? 2 hours. We even go into this new concept, and there's a divide in the scientific space surrounding this new concept, right? Which is crazy because concept been around for about 10 years. So it's not super new, right? But in the science space, they've been debating it back and forth. So it's semi-new. And a decade in is still considered to be new, right? But we talk about this in the book as well. The concept of a microlife, right? Now, what's crazy about this microlife or micro lives, right, is this is the shit we used to talk about all the time. Like, this is something that they just took. This is not really something that was invented as something that was just more like grabbed by the institutions, polished up by a statistician, and then they put some money into it, right? Reminder, hint, hint, wink, wink, please hit the Cash App, right? But they put some money into the research so that they could get a correlation, right? So the research is still in its infancy. There's a lot of stuff that has to be fine-tuned, right? And it's almost impossible to get an accurate, like 100% accurate, because everybody's bodies are different. Everybody's economics are different. Education levels different. Genetic inheritance is different. Environments and different. So but the generalizations and the impact of what's already been, what's already been taken away in terms of knowledge and understanding and wisdom it's amazing. And the fact that, once again, you don't have no online, you don't have no online gurus having this conversation. Right? We're going to have to update the damn title of the video. Yeah, we're going to update the title of this video. The concept is this. They have broken down everything you do. Now, mind you, I've been talking about this forever. From day one. Because that's how I learned the information. That everything you do, every breath you take, every drink you drink, every thought you think, every conversation you have, every action, everything, it impacts how long you're going to be alive, right? Especially coming out of the Bronx and Harlem, you know what I'm saying, where you could see up close and personal how cheap life could be. Like life, the cost of life is cheap. You know, my homeboy Caesar, just give you a story. My homeboy Caesar, we in the 7th grade. And when I got to this school, I started like a month or two late after everybody else. I had transferred from another school. And, the school was surrounded by projects, My Haven on one side, Patterson on the other side, Brook Ave, Cypress Avenue, you know what I'm saying? So I had some people around there, but I had to, I had to reacclimate myself. You know what I'm saying? It was a whole different, I was already him in the school I was in. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm coming over here. It's a different. So Caesar, Puerto Rican, I think he was Puerto Rican and Cuban mixed. You know what I'm saying? I think he was like Puerto Rican and Cuban mixed. But, Puerto Ricans, I don't know what it is with Puerto Ricans, because Puerto Ricans is like, at the same time as Puerto Ricans have, some Puerto Ricans, they got this racial thing going on where they don't like black folks. But at the same time, Puerto Ricans be like the best, most loyal friends ever. You know what I'm saying? When I was in elementary, my main best friend was a Puerto Rican guy. Marcus, then Caesar, you know what I'm saying? But Caesar, it didn't last long, because Caesar wanted me to do this robbery with him, right? And I told Caesar, I was like, well, give me the rundown. What you thinking about? You know what I'm saying? And he was like, yo, we're going to rob DeMayo's, a sneaker store right there on 3rd Avenue. And when he told me this, I just bust out laughing. I said, nigga, you insane. I just saved your life. I'm glad you told me about this plan, because no, nigga, you cannot rob DeMayo's. DeMayo, do you know that name? That ain't Spanish, folks. That's the mob. Like, you can't rob DeMayo's, brother. That's a no-no. That's a no-go, right? You cannot rob DeMayo's. I don't know if DeMayo's is still on 3rd Avenue in the Bronx. For people that live in the Bronx, these are names in actual places. I can't make these stories up. Right. So anyway, he got, just giving you an example of how cheap the cost of life is. You know what I'm saying? He ran into he didn't listen to me. He told me he wasn't going to do it. Right. Because I told him, that's an absolute no-go, nigga. You're insane. He told me, yeah, I ain't going to do it. He went ahead and did it. And it was him and 2 other guys. I think one of the other guys got shot. but he didn't, he didn't have life-threatening injuries. Caesar died on the spot. He got shot and killed running out of DeMaio's with like a $50 pair of sneakers. Shot in the back. You know what I'm saying? Because they had, I don't know what they went in there with or what they went in there thinking, but he got killed running out of there. And that was my guy. I missed, but a lot of my friends got killed that year. You know what I'm saying? But cost of life is cheap. So anyway, I always had this concept for a variety of reasons, right? That everything you do, everything you eat, everything you like, all these things impacts your lifespan. That might have been too drastic of a story. I'm gonna stop telling y'all about me. You don't need to know about me, right? The Bronx is a different universe. You know what I'm saying? You listen to Charlemagne. Charlemagne tell you that everywhere in the world is cool except for Florida and the Bronx. Oh shit! Mind you, we in 7th grade. We 12-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? 13-year-olds, something like that. You know what I'm saying? We kids, babies, right? But babies in poverty, trying to figure it out. And but these guys, anyway, fast forward, these guys have done the research to tie what it is that we do in real time. So if you go, like, say, for instance, right now, it's 2:00 on the East Coast in America, right? So I don't know where everybody else is, but that's like late lunchtime. Or if you one of the nightlife people, you might be just moving around to breakfast time right now, right? But say, for instance, you go out and you have some scrambled eggs with some sausages and some pancakes from a fast food restaurant. Well, they done calculated that down to exactly how many minutes that meal is going to take off your life, right? If you go get you you go get you a Big Mac and fries right now, they've calculated how much time that Big Mac and fries is going to take off your life, potentially, right? On the flip side, if you go do X amount of push-ups, right? Or you go to the gym for 30 minutes or whatever the case may be, they've calculated how much time going to the gym will add on to your life, right? Or having a green salad or a smoothie or this thing or that thing. So they've created, this concept and this index scientifically, right? I told you, listen, them insurance companies ain't fucking around. There's a wide variety of things they can use to calculate your death date based on your life patterns and your habits. Here's the genome. Let's get that blood test in. Here's the lifestyle, right? Here's where they work. Here's how they play, right? Here's how they work. Here's how they play. How can I tell how you play? Okay. Well, first thing is, how old is the person? Okay. So person, let's say the person's 40 years old or 35 years old, right? The next question is, right, is one or two questions follow next. Where do they work, or how many children they got, right? So let's say, for instance, you 35, 40 years old, you don't have any children, or you may just have one child. Chances are that's a person that's into nightlife, because they haven't prioritized building a family. So that means they're still trying to do the childhood thing, right? If they haven't prioritized adulthood, they still some version of childhood. So that means they still going to show, they outside. Okay, cool. We know what the cost of that is. They outside. That means a higher proclivity to smoke, to drink, to fast food, to bad sleep. You know, they're not getting sleep at night, so they're not getting autophagies out the window, melatonin's out the window, you know, all those reparative functions that all that's out the window, right? So certain little things will open up. And these are obviously, because it's billions of people on the planet, it's no way, like I said in the beginning, to be totally accurate and say, well, but laws of averages, statistics, right? Probabilities, right? Pretty effective for most folks, right? What we're doing is becoming, you know, firebenders and water benders over here. That's what the fuck we over here becoming life benders. That's what we doing over here. We're the life benders. We're bending the rules, right? We're bending the rules. I've already bent the rules because most of my friends shot, jail, some of them dead. None of them have a bunch of kids that they raise and teach and homeschool and live in the suburbs with white folks. Like, that wasn't part of the Yeah, God was like, no, you can't have that one. That one is mine. We got plans for him. You know, you can't have him. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we're life benders over here. We're breaking, you know, when they say the odds are 1,000,000 to 1, that's what we're doing with all these books. We're focused on being the one. Like, oh wait, so there is a one? Wait, so there's a one? How does that work? Yeah, no. Forget about the million. How does that one work? We want to focus on that right there. Yeah, 1 in a million is still a whole lot of niggas. It's billions of people on this planet. It's lots of millions. So that means there's lots of ones that go with those millions. Yeah, we good. Yeah. Yeah, but hold up. M4 said a lot of vegans going back to meat because of lectins and leaky gut. Yeah, that's because they confused. They don't know what they're talking about. Those is folks that don't know how their body works. They following on the internet. Lectins have very little to actually do with leaky gut. Lectins have very little to do with leaky gut. They listening to 9 out of 10 times, any of those people are people that's listening to Jack Cruz. Like, I could pinpoint a lot of times where they're getting the misinformation from. Dumbest people is probably following Jack Cruz. They got to stop. They need to stop listening to Jack Cruz. Jack Cruz been saying he had the key to weight loss for like 5 years already, and he's still fat. When is he going to lose the weight with his leptin prescription? When is he actually going to use the leptin prescription? This nigga been on leptin prescription for 5 or 10 years now, and he's still fat. Yo, nobody asks the right questions, right? That's because his intellectual word salad is what, you know, his word salad and his credentials overrides people's common sense. You know, I'm a neurosurgeon. Then he start hitting you with the word salad, and the word salad kind of reinforces the credentials. Like, oh wow, he must know what he's talking about. And so Dr. Sebi was talking about leaky gut. Dr. Sebi is the person who invented the term leaky. He was talking about leaky gut when he was getting banned for it. Dr. Sebi was getting banned for it back in the 70s and 80s when AIDS first popped up. That's what Dr. Sebi said was causing AIDS. That was the Dr. Sebi concept. Part of the reason me and KT fell out, because he didn't know what Dr. Sebi concept surrounding AIDS was. You know what I'm saying? People take what they have for granted. You know what I'm saying? People take what they have for granted. And so I guess because, Mama Pill was they mama, the pills and Katie, that's they mama. You know what I'm saying? They didn't really listen to, what she know. That's mama. You know what I'm saying? I was over there like, I would have long conversations with her, take everything she was saying seriously. So but that was the thing Dr. Sebi was saying. That was his understanding of AIDS. Dr. Sebi's understanding of AIDS was 1, 2, 3, 4. Simple. 1, 2, 3, 4. He said AIDS, when it first came out, is in the homosexual community because the anal sex is putting holes in the anus and the colon, and all of that food and blood and feces and bacteria is leaking into the blood. When that leaks into the blood, that's causing all of the glutathione levels and antioxidant levels to be used up, just keeping you, just keeping your health at bay, because you got feces and other shit slow leaking, right, into the circulatory system, right, which is the earliest concept of leaky gut. And once the glutathione and all that's gone, you have hemolytic anemia. That's the term I was looking for the other day. Hemolytic anemia kicks in. That's a different type of anemia. That's not just, and now they flipping and bouncing that shit another way too, because they saying that along with ferroptosis, right? Along with ferroptosis, the broken down blood cells, which is what Sebi was talking about when he was referencing hemolytic anemia. See, John Q. Public, remember, you don't see with your eyes, you don't hear with your ears. You see and you hear with your brain. So because people didn't know what hemolytic anemia was, when Sebi was talking about anemia and cellular debris, people didn't understand that the anemia was causing the cellular debris. They didn't understand that concept. It's the only concept niggas running around thinking anemia means your hands and your feet is cold because you low on iron. Like, yeah, you stop repeating that. Yeah, like that's a pet peeve. I just want to slap people when I hear them say that. It just sounds so stupid. But there was a time period people thought it was cool. Like, oh, I got anemia, especially girls. I got anemia, What do you mean? You don't got anemia. You got to order Chinese food. Like, you don't got anemia, bro. You don't have a disease. You have malnutrition. You need some greens. You don't have stop saying this crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? You don't got no damn anemia. You haven't had a salad. You need some vegetables. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's what that is. The hemolytic anemia, it causes your cells to break down faster and faster and faster because of the lack of glutathione and some of those antioxidants that protect your cells, right? Even sulfates, right? So now from where it was, right? And I forgot what book that is that we talk about this in detail. It's in one of the newer books. It's in one of the newer books. It might be in the photochemistry book, but we talk about nitric oxide synthase, right? Because nitric oxide synthase is one of those quote unquote antioxidants, but now it's not an antioxidant. We know it's actually an enzyme that promotes nitric oxide production in the circulatory system that helps protect the blood cells, right? And also helps them move and circulate. And sulfur, right? NRF2 system, hint, hint, wink, wink. Go to AmericanHealer.website, get your goddamn monthly detox kits, right? But it helps make sure that process, that you don't, because that's a balance. Your body's making millions of blood cells every second. But we forget that while your body's making all these blood cells, it also has to break down and recycle all the blood cells that it's breaking down. So it has to break down and clean up millions of blood cells every second, right? So when you listen to these goofy people that's getting ready to tell you that saturated fat, the C15 saturated fatty acids is the key to longevity, blah, 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 because ferroptosis and inflammaging and cellular fragility. And when they start telling you all this crazy shit, they're going to also add to that the red blood cells are breaking down and the liver is not able to blah, 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 blah. That's not a thing. Listen to what I'm telling you now. That's not a thing. We already covered that in the lymphatic immunity book, right? That's actually a part of your lymphatic system that's supposed to deal with recycling all them broken down blood cells. So people getting ready to get steered to these $100 pills and shit they getting ready to sell. That's not a thing, right? All you need is actually exercise and water to take care of that whole breaking down the red blood cells thing. And because there's really no way to monetize water or exercise, like they're already selling you every type of water they can, and you already got 1,000 buff diesel niggas on the internet selling you exercise 1,000 different ways, from pull-ups to push-up machines. And the new thing now is they selling you grips for lifting weights, so you can lift weights that's too heavy for you, so you can get more injuries. No, these are the grippers. These grippers are going to allow you to lift 20% more weight than you could. Nigga, are you insane? That's the last thing people need, is to lift heavier weights. You got to relax. Unless you're an athlete or a bodybuilder, stop following them big, strong niggas for health information. I'm telling you that, right? But it's the lymphatic system that recycles that blood for you, right? Because it has to go through the kidney, the spleen, and the lymph nodes, right? The spleen is actually a major player. What they don't discuss, because that'll fuck up the money. So they're not going to tell you about the spleen. They're going to direct your attention to the liver. And the liver is overwhelmed because the liver recycles the fatty acids. And, if you don't have the C15 saturated fatty acids, the liver is not able to properly process the blood cells. And because of that, you're going to have all this broken down debris from the blood cells. And so iron from these broken down blood cells is going to start to leak into the tissues, and that's going to start inflammation. And once that inflammation starts, that's going to cause lipid oxidation. And the lipid oxidation is going to lead to you having cellular fragility. And then whoa. That word salad, when they start hitting you with a barrage of crazy word salad like that, and they start telling you they doctor such and such, specialist such and such, and neurosurgeon, motherfuckers just collapse and open up their wallet. Oh yeah, let me get some, because EnQi got on gold teeth, and I think he done wore that sweater. What is that, 2 or 3 days in a row? Wait, they're like, yo, we think EnQi. Listen, I like this. This is my exercise. I'm trying to get my life together. Don't judge me. Okay, I have certain things that, provide me comfort, emotional support, right? So this is a shirt that provides me emotional support, right? So, when I need extra motivation to exercise or do some things that I need to do, like give up some things that comfort things, comfort foods, comfort TV, and things that I need to give up, I have to have my favorite shirt, shit like that. Don't judge me. Get your shit together. Don't judge me, right? Because you're going to miss out on life-changing information. And you're going to be like, no, look, these people, they have their clothes is ironed. Their tie is, like that. They sit up straight like that. They never say cuss words, so clearly they must know what they're talking about. No, they're watching sales videos. And so, they know how to, I'm telling you the real, because I am you. See, I'm not speaking down to you, neither am I going to speak up to you. I'm going to speak straight across to you, like your brother, your sister, your father, your mother, your neighbor, your co-worker. because I am you. You are me. Yeah. So I'm telling you that none of that is all that's faulty. All that's faulty, that's all, there's a lot of holes to punch in that, So that's going to be a wave that's going to ride for 10 years, 20 years, 30, who knows how long that's going to ride, but they're going to get some money out of this because they done invested a lot of money into this thing. So it's getting ready to go big. So, don't get swept up in the wave. You know what I'm saying? You got to read and study and learn so you already know when they start presenting certain things, cellular fragility. Like, what are you even talking about? Cellular fragility. Like, cellular fragility. No, we need to focus on the orthorexia book and the autodidact book, right? Because in those two books, literally, is the key to properly metabolizing fat in your body. Those two books give you the key to properly metabolizing fat in your body. And that's what you really got to get into, is properly metabolizing fat, getting in healthy fats, right? You're getting in healthy fats, you're good. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get a small percentage of those same C15, right? Because they're going to tell you, like when you look up, they're going to say, if you go through 1,000 scientific journals to figure this pentodinic acid or whatever it's called. It's a long P word. I'll find it out. You know what I'm saying? But C15 fatty acid, you know what I'm saying? They're going to tell you, oh, it's milk fat is the main source of this, is milk fat. So you got to get the butter, the cheese, the this, the that, the supplement. If you keep reading and keep reading and keep reading, they're going to say, oh, yeah, and the algae, the algae has, there's some algae that has. I would just wait. The niggas would go crazy and just say, I said the blue magic. I told y'all to just go get the blue magic. Y'all in a rush though, because I sent the packages late. So all right, we'll go get the milk. I'm telling you, we put that blue magic together. That ain't just, that we put that thing together, right? And they're gonna say, oh, well, there's certain plant extracts also that have, there's algae sources and there's some plant extracts that also have the C15 fatty acid. And if somebody gonna be like, wait a minute, where do we have algae and the plant extracts coming together at? A nigga with them gold teeth, My name is Minister EnQi. I am the naturopathic doctor and the spokesman for the Melanin-Verse Diabetes Ministry. Every time you go to the supermarket without the electrician grocery shopping list, it's like putting a loaded gun to your head. Stop playing Russian roulette with your life. Help us make America great again. Learn how to save time. Learn how to save money with the electrician grocery shopping list on Amazon now. Go to Amazon now. The life you save may be your own.